Hey, hey. Good evening, good morning. It's evening here in Vancouver. Um, just wanted to jump on. I usually stand for these transmissions, but I feel really tired. Haven't slept that much. The baby's been up, and that's saying, that's saying like 1/10 level of fatigue that Diana's got. So I just want to give her some mad props. She's feeding right now, and it's just literally a 24/7 gig. Hey Nagina, what's up? It's Wednesday morning over there in Dubai, Tuesday night here in Vancouver, and I wanted to jump on and talk about this conversation because I just had a wonderful um, message in the group. I just wanted to jump on my thing and show you. It was about relationships, and I asked a question. I asked the question, I said, is your relationship a safe space to share, excuse me, your reality in? Tell the truth, yes or no, and why. So I asked the question, is your relationship a safe space to share your reality in? I wanted to get a temperature gauge. You know, what's it like for you in your relationship? Or maybe you're single right now. I want you to think of your past relationship, and if it didn't work out, it's probably we know the answer to that. Is your relationship a safe space? Do you consider it a safe space to share your reality in, your truth? Okay? Do you feel that way? And we got some amazing, already just 53 responses. Um, 53 responses. And so much of the conversation, yes, thank God we don't always agree on interpretations, Matthew says, but we can always share with each other. We understand that if we didn't like an action, it's about the action and not necessarily the person. She's amazing at listening for my needs. Amazing. This is exactly why, this is exactly what we want to create. The sense of a secure attachment is the feeling of safety to be able to express yourself, is to be able to share what's going on for you. Okay? And the next person, Angie, she said, no, my husband can't be trusted and doesn't care. Dot, dot, dot. I always have a funny response whenever people say that. It's kind of like, no, my husband can't be trusted and doesn't care. Dot, dot, dot. And I know what it's like to be in a relationship where you feel stuck. And that response especially triggered me. Sorry, Angie. So I really wanted to do a video and think about. It made me think. Okay, so why is it? Why don't you feel safe? Why don't you feel trusted in this relationship? And see if I can serve you by giving you some sort of insight on waking you up. That's really what this is about. Social media. You're scrolling on this thing. We scroll on this thing to numb ourselves. But my commitment is that if you uh, come on these trainings and you listen and you pay attention, it's not going to put you to sleep. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to actually wake you up. And sometimes waking you up means poking you and irritating you a little bit with a trigger because it's like, whoa, because we're asleep 95% of the time. We are not aware. We have no conscious awareness. We don't have consciousness. We are dissociated from our bodies. We are a race. We are a species that is completely if you're anything like me, like I was, completely in the dark, sleepwalking, getting into relationships, them not be fulfilling, getting in toxic dynamics, and being stuck there, not knowing what to do, not having the freedom to express ourselves. All of a sudden, we wake up and we're like, I realized I couldn't find and get into a relationship that felt fulfilling. I didn't feel safe to express myself. So I would shut down, I would run away, I would become the avoidant, get into these codependent cycles. So I thought about it and I'm like, all right, so what are two main reasons? I'm going to give you two reasons. And by the end of this training, you're going to have some insight about if you're stuck in a relationship where you don't feel like it's a safe space to express yourself. It feels nourishing, feeling seen and heard, and it's not just one-sided. You actually have an ability to create a container where another person or other people feel that way around you. That's the ultimate. And why is this important? Well, if you don't have that, then life is meaningless. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you have like you make 5 million bucks a year and you're a boss babe and you're just killing it. All right? I know plenty of very successful people. They just can't get relationships right. I was one of them. Um, you know, this one woman who's a good, who's a colleague of mine, just crushing it. The woman makes, she's so powerful. The woman makes about, she even like we were in a mastermind group together. She goes, yeah, I made 300 grand this weekend. I just sit back and go, but then on the breaks she would come up to me and go, Nima, why can't I find a man? Why is it that I can't get relationships right? Ever since her divorce, she was divorced, she got two beautiful kids who are grown men. Ever since her divorce, she hasn't been able to get relationships right and hasn't felt safe expressing herself in relationships. And so she's just like, screw that, I'm going to go at it myself. So I wanted to shed some light and tell you two main reasons and two things that I want you to really look at and identify. The first reason, number one, is it's called fragilizing. Okay? What is fragilizing? This is one of the main reasons why we don't feel safe in relationships. I'll give you an example. Fragilizing, this is how I felt with my relationship with my parents. I would be running this story consistently. I'd say, I can't tell the truth to my parents. I'm not able to set boundaries with my parents. I'm not able to tell the truth. Why? Well, to protect them because they can't handle it. They lose their shit. So I'm going to hide the truth. I don't feel safe expressing myself around my parents because when I express my truth, they lose it, they pull away, they react, they respond. So therefore, I don't feel safe. I realized that while my feelings were true and valid, that I was doing this thing called fragilizing. Fragilizing means that I'm going to withhold my truth in in fear of like because of your reaction, but the truth of the matter is that I'm afraid of your truth when I share my truth. Does that make sense? Does this make sense? Let me know if this is making sense. Fragilizing means that I am going to hide my truth to my parents because they can't handle the truth. Whereas the truth is, when I share a truth and they have a reaction, I am the one that couldn't handle their reaction to it. I wasn't resourced enough to be able to tell the truth, listen to their reaction, which is usually a feeling of rejection and not worthiness that come up within me based on their reaction. But I wasn't resourced within my own self to be able to share my truth, have them react the way they react, and for me to see through their reaction at the wounds behind their reaction. I expected them to see me when I didn't take the time to resource myself so that I can see them. This is why relationships break down. Because we blame the other person because of their reaction, but we are the ones that aren't able to handle their reactions to our truth, so that we hide it and then we have a wall between us, and now we have toxic relationships. And then we say, well, maybe I didn't feel safe with you. I'm just going to go somewhere else. Then you go somewhere else and you go to another person, and then, they'll get triggered by some of the stuff you say. Welcome to a relationship. This is conflict. You didn't, nobody, nobody taught you properly conflict, probably, if you were like me. I wasn't taught, you know. So you set a boundary, they have a reaction, okay? They will have a reaction, to the boundary set because they feel hurt and rejected, and then they'll respond and react back to you, and you can't handle the reaction because you feel rejected. And it becomes this endless loop. And it's called fragilization. And the whole time you're like, no, they're supposed to create safety. The way that I changed my relationship with my family is I stopped expecting them to create safety. I created it within myself. And then I spoke my truth. And then they had reactions. Like right now, it happens constantly. My with, I mean, it happens with in-laws. This is part of family dynamics. We either project and we just expect them to see us, and we don't empathize, so we don't set boundaries. We're inauthentic because we fragilize. We blame the other person as their reaction, but we ourselves are not able to resource ourselves through their reaction. So we lose it, and it becomes this fight for victimhood. You have two people fighting to play, oh, I'm the victim. No, I'm the victim. No, I'm the victim. No, I'm the victim. Two little children fighting for victimhood. Welcome to codependency. Welcome to toxic relationships. And I was going from one to another until I was like, okay, wait. Let me just put down the magnifying Let me just put down the magnifying glass and pick up a mirror instead. Resource myself instead of blaming them. Instead of fragilizing, I'm going to take responsibility. So I did. And all of a sudden, I was able to set boundaries. And all of a sudden, their reactions, when you start setting boundaries with family members, when you're doing the work, it's difficult because you now have changed the contract. You now say something and set a boundary, and then they get upset. They don't like the tone. Something happens, it triggers their wounds, and then they react to you. And then what are you going to do? You can't handle their reaction because you're fragilizing and you've been protecting yourself from their reaction. You think you're protecting them from covering, like hiding the truth and not sharing, but you're actually protecting yourself, your wounds. How do you change this? Well, you take responsibility for healing those attachment wounds that's causing you to fragilize in the first place. Yeah, but no, Nima, what about them? What about them taking responsibility? They should do it, is what I hear all the time. Don't I deserve this? Don't I deserve that? Yeah, sure you deserve it. So how's it working so far? Okay? No, it's not. Okay, so what do? Find somebody else and repeat the pattern, or let's just use what you have here you got going on using whatever triggers, and you're going to use each of them to go inside and to heal your attachment wounds. That's what becoming trigger proof is really all about. I created the overview method to teach people. It's a methodology of taking a trigger and using it to heal an attachment wound. That every trigger is a gift to help you heal your attachment wound rather than another excuse to play the victim and have expect somebody else to see you because you haven't learned to resource yourself and then learn how to set healthy boundaries that are firm, that are compassionately firm. That's the key. Compassionately firm. And even when you're compassionately firm, people are not going to like it. Let me give you an example. Um, Diana, the after the um, after the C-section, has had some infections, and it's been a little difficult. It's been painful for her, right? And so what happens is already everybody is constantly telling her what to do, right? Is being bombarded constantly by advice everywhere, right? And there's so much advice coming at you. It's just exhausting. And then it becomes a little overwhelming, right? So then this happens and it becomes challenging. So then at times you got to set boundaries. And so you say, um, all right, here's the deal. I really appreciate. How are you doing? Well, so and so is happening. Well, you should do this, and then you should do that, and then you should do vegetable juice, and then this, and then that, and then this, and then that, and then it's just like okay. So I sent a text message with my mother. She asked how my wife is doing, and why do people fight for victimhood? I'm going to tell you the answer to that, Alyssa. Why do people fight for victimhood? That's a great question. I'm going to answer that question. So I told my mother, I said, listen, She said, "How are you doing? We haven't heard from you." She needs to hear how we're doing every single day. It's Persian moms. And I said, "Hey, mom," I was texting. I go, "Hey, mom, um, look, she's not great. She's healing. Got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. We're going to look at the wound, all of this stuff. But I would really appreciate it if you don't give any advice. We got all of this under control." She goes, "Okay, sure, no problem." A lovely response. "Thank you. It's okay. That's all good." And then about 20 minutes, half an hour later, I get another message from my father saying, When have we been giving advice?" All of a sudden got defensive when I just set a simple boundary saying, "Look, we'll come tomorrow, but we got it all under control and we don't really need, to hear any advice. So we're okay." That pissed him off, that upset him. Now, because he feels rejected, he feels like, "What are you talking about? We're not giving advice. This is not what's happening. You don't you In other words, you have us all wrong. We've been good parents." It triggered his "we're being bad parents" button. And so he responded with a text message. And so what's probably going to happen is I'm going to get on a call with him and just talk about what's going on. And this is how conscious relationships will happen. He's probably going to be upset. He's going to share it with me. I'm going to listen. I'm going to hear him. I'm going to be very conscious of my own boundaries. I'm going to be open to hearing. And I'm going to be aware that there's a wounded part of me that really wants to say fuck you constantly. And I'm going to take care of that part of me. And that is how we can use conflict and turn it into deeper intimacy. I'll let you know how it goes, by the way, because I'm still in the middle of it. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that conflict is going to happen in relationships, in family dynamics. If you hide your truth in fear of conflict, then you are, um, and you're telling the story that, "Oh, I don't feel, it's because I don't feel safe," um, then you might be fragilizing. And I'm not saying to just go and say it and then confront it if you haven't done the work. But what I'm saying is do the work. I'm saying take responsibility to heal those attachment wounds that have you hiding your truth in the first place. Now, I can tell when someone's done the work. I can actually tell. People who message me goes, "I've done tons of work." And they still tell their victim story like they're in it. They can't see it. They're in it. I know that they haven't completed the work. 100% of people who message me say that they've done some sort of work, therapy, cognitive work, whatever. And they still say things like, and I'm going to answer that question, why do people fight for victimhood? Um, and they still, hold on one sec. What did he say? Let's see. They still tell the story, "Oh, my husband, so and so." All right? "My husband, I don't feel safe. I can't trust him." Okay. Dot, dot, dot. That answer, I believe it was Angela. That's a victim. Okay? I'm not saying you don't feel that way, and I don't mean to invalidate you. I'm saying you're not done your healing work. And if you're just going to stay in a situation like that and you're not going to do anything about it, you're not going to take any responsibility, then you will stay stuck there forever expecting someone else to rescue you. Which answers the question, why would you fight for victimhood? Because victimhood is a great way to avoid responsibility. It's a justification to it's a justification and an excuse to avoid responsibility. Why? Because to take responsibility means that I have to grow up. I don't want to grow up. I have Peter Pan syndrome. I want to stay a little boy, little kid, little girl forever, waiting for some sort of a fucking knight in shining armor to come and rescue me, some savior to come and save me from this horrible life of victimhood. And I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose. This is our unconscious default. Not your fault. Probably you learned that from your parents. Victimhood, it passes down from generation to generation. You get implanted with the idea. My ex girlfriend, she was born into victimhood. You know, we did a landmark course, and she got up. It was a huge revelation. She was like, I've been a victim all my life, and it didn't even start with me. She was brought into victimhood, and her mother is a professional victim, and now she's turning into a professional victim. And it's just one layer after another of victimhood. And it's like, I don't want to take responsibility. How do I know that you've done the work? Okay, here's how I know. Instead of saying a comment like, I don't feel safe around my husband, he can't be trusted, what you say is this is when you've done the work. This is when I can tell. I feel it in you. I see it. I can see it in the words that you choose. This is what you say when you've done your healing work. You say, we had a very tumultuous relationship. I did it. I constantly felt in my relationship like I couldn't trust him. I felt betrayed constantly, and I stayed with him because I realized it was a repetition of my childhood wounding. It was familiar to me. I realized that I was reliving a pattern that was deep in my core of my being, in my body, and I was living it every day, victimizing myself to my husband when it wasn't really about my husband at all. It was about me and my unconscious wounds that were in my body with my father, for example, primary mother. And because I hadn't healed those, I repeated them. And so I stopped I stopped looking for a rescuer outside of me, and I took it upon myself. I invested the time. I invested the energy. I went and got a job. I stopped expecting him to see me. I stopped expecting him to support me financially, because that's another way to stay stuck in victimhood, is set your life up in such a way where you're powerless. If you don't empower all areas of your life, you're going to draw in somebody to overpower you. There are no victims. Let me say that again, and this is going to trigger the hell out of you, especially if you're stuck in a victim state wanting to be rescued. You're either a creator or a taker in this universe. The victims are the takers. They expect, you know, they don't think that a life of creation is possible for them. But you are. You are a creator. You are made in the image of God. You are a creator. But only in if you first know that you are. But if you are in a perpetual victimhood state because it's been brought up, you've been brought up in that state, you're plugged into the matrix. You're not the one in control of your life. You must unplug the matrix by healing your attachment wounds. That's how you unplug them from the matrix. That's how you break the cycles of intergenerational trauma. That's how you stop playing the victim. We naturally will default to victimhood. People reach out to me and they have relationship challenges, and I go, tell me what's going on. And all they do is talk about the other person. All the way to, and basically tell the victim story. And I've done all this work. I'm like, let me guess, you've done therapy, counseling, right? Yeah. Well, that explains it. You've gone week after week. I don't mean to knock all therapists and counselors. One of my good friends is a counselor. So if he heard this, he would probably be pissed. He'd probably get very defensive and get triggered and send me a message. But not all counselors are like that. But think about it. There's nothing in the business model that has you having to break free from your victim story. So often I see people saying, I've done this work, my husband can't be trusted and I don't feel safe, dot, dot, dot. And then what? You're just going to stay there? The reason why you're staying there is because it's filling an unconscious need to stay there. You're disempowered financially. You you can't be alone because you're terrified of being alone. You'd rather be in a situation, light bulbs, good. You'd rather be in a situation with somebody than be alone. You'd rather help fix and get your identity by solving their issue, by rescuing them, because you have such a deep loss of a sense of self, right? That's why you tolerate not being seen and heard and understood and feeling safe in a relationship. Because once you've done this work, once you've healed those attachment wounds, all of a sudden you don't tolerate somebody not seeing and hearing you. You don't actually, the thought of being with somebody is like, fuck that. You within one or two dates, when you're with that person and they're very narcissistically not able to hold space for you, you don't have the time for that shit because you've already invested so much energy into yourself rather than pleasing, rather than and it's not your fault, and I'm not trying to shame you for it. I'm trying to give you light bulb moments. That's what I want. I want the light bulb to go on. But here's the problem: the light bulb going on is meaningless. An insight, a breakthrough, is meaningless unless you actually put it to action. You'll have a light bulb, Lois, and then if you don't take one action step towards shifting that tomorrow, within about 3 weeks, that light bulb is past. You're now in the dark again. So it takes specific, specified action steps moving forward. You must make that a priority. You must. So, number one is fragilizing. That's the first reason. Reason number two is unhealed, unsolved attachment wounds causing you to have familiar environment of not feeling seen and heard and safe, which is exactly what kind of segue into this. So if you had the experience growing up where your sense of self was validated when you took care of others, when you were the helper, when you abandoned yourself, and your emotional needs were not met, then naturally you will equate that pattern that pattern will be repeated in your relationships. You will tolerate that kind of behavior because that's what love is. And none of this is your fault. And most of it is unconscious. James Hollis says the first half of life is a giant mistake. It's true, because for me it was. It was 43 years old when I just had this big wake-up call, and I moved back in with my parents, and I worked towards healing them. And it's a work in progress. I have a text message that I got to send to my dad right after this. Not got to, that I would love to send to my dad and have a chat with him about it. Um, and just, I set a boundary. I'm able to say it. And he got triggered. And then I can now take care of me while he's having his reaction, because my commitment to myself and my boundary was the most important thing, and I can be compassionate at the same time rather than boundaries. Was when you first start doing them and you hear boundaries, people say, here's what you got to say when you do boundaries. This is the problem that I have with boundary work. When you go boundaries, boundaries, when you can actually, they become a prison for you. You use them to be safe, just kind of like what I did. I set a boundary, and then you got to understand that that's going to confront the person, and you got to be compassionate towards the person that you say it to, right? But trying to practice what to say without actually doing the work in your body to heal that and get that firm sense of self, so that when things get, if my dad has a conniption fit over the boundary that I set, I'm okay with that. That's not going to stop me from loving him. I can still be understanding towards him and empathize towards him. And you might be thinking, well, what about him? And I thought to myself, you know what? The only way that I changed my relationship with my family was I stopped expecting them to do any type of work to see me and empathize with me. I was going to do that for me. I didn't need that anymore. I was going to do that from a standpoint of, I got me. I'm going to try to understand them a little more, because there's about 10 years left I have with them, and I thought I could spend those 10 years being a little baby, playing the victim to them and resentful, or I can appreciate everything that they have done for me and really understand that where they came from was coming from a wounded place. They did a great job. I'm a little bit fucked up, I gotta say. It's true. I'm not any less fucked up than you. I got my I just know I can the difference is I can see it. That's the difference. Is that I see it now, and if I can see it, I don't have to have it take over. right? So I have just as many childhood wounds. Maybe not just as many. I don't want to say. I've had it pretty great. Both of my parents are together. It wasn't a great marriage. Conflict wasn't done great. But everything I have appreciation for and an understanding when they do annoying shit, it gets to me. I wish that they were a little more different and more grown up and more understanding, and I wish that they would do this work. But then I can waste my time wishing, or I can just appreciate them and really take care of myself. And that is the foundation of healing your attachment wounds. I know there's some therapists and stuff that say you got to nix toxic people out of your life. And I'm just like, yeah, I could have easily said that about my parents. But then that's the easy way out. I, I, I would rather start a community and a tribe of people who are like done with the victim story and then want to become trigger proof so that going to their parents' place isn't traumatic, regardless of who they are. They're able to be compassionately firm with their boundaries and appreciative because, quite frankly, you got to where you are because, I mean, in good ways, because of them too. But when you're so stuck in victimhood, so stuck in resentment, so stuck in that childlike state because of that wound, then you completely block yourself out of the possibility of really connecting. And that's really what life is about. That's what makes life meaningful is your ability to create a container where you feel seen and heard, but when others feel it too. So when I was able to let my parents feel seen and heard by me, now they totally are very empathetic towards me, the most they've ever been in their lives, and it's entirely as a reflection of the work that I've done on myself. They've even stepped it up. So the two main reasons. Now I'm sure there's more, but I just thought about it and I wanted to answer that question because it was a really interesting thread that just came up. Check it out on in the Facebook group. What's your relationship like, and then share. And I would love it, absolutely love it. If this is resonating with you and you're actually ready, I always say, okay, so what do I do now? How to solve this? People say, how do I solve this? Well, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to create a sacred pause. You got to have a tribe and a community. You got to regulate your nervous system. You got to clear past grievances. You got to heal those attachment wounds, and you got to learn how to dance with that dark passenger. Now, how do you do that? Well, I have a training on this on Sunday. I just left the I just left it in the comment section. The link is there. Click that link, watch the video, read everything there, and I basically teach you in this 5-hour workshop the step by step on uncovering when you get triggered, where does that wound come from? What's the story that you made out of it? What are the sensations in the body? And then we are working on specifically resentment. What are you resenting the most about that other person? And then what we do is we go into the drama triangle and then we unpack and show you how to take any conflict and unpack it within a matter of minutes and turn that conflict into deeper self-love. Excuse me, turn it into deeper intimacy. Why is this important? Well, because if you learn to do this, then you can teach your children. Imagine your parents teaching you proper conflict resolution strategies so that you can have a secure, attached relationship at home. I'm so grateful for my relationship because, you know, when feelings come up for me, when I have something, I can say it. And when Diana has feelings come up, I create a space where she can say it, she can express it. And the one who benefits is my son. The one who benefits from all of this work is my son because he gets to live in an energy field or a container, which is our family dynamic with the two dogs. This energy, think about it. If I came into your home and I just was like an energy Geiger counter, and I could just sense the energy, which was the attachments between your family, what reading would I get? Would I get grief? Would I get resentment? Would I get inauthenticity? Would there be lies between all of the people? Well, I could sit here and blame my parents all my life for that, and I'd be validated because they didn't teach me all this stuff, but they didn't learn themselves. And so I could sit there and hold them accountable to teaching me, or I could teach myself and then create become a creator rather than a taker. Then I create. And then I became a creator. Look at me. I created a child. 2 years ago, this is not possible for me. I went from victim to my parents to creator of a family that with king energy. This is when you go from your wounded child energy to king queen energy. It must guide you through your victim state into the other state. Fragilizing and repeating patterns. Those are two reasons why you don't feel safe. The answer is to heal those attachment wounds. The link is there. What excuses do you have to not make this a priority? What's more important than healing the attachment wounds from your childhood so that you can then create a family dynamic and become the person to create this container where everybody feels seen and heard, rather than sitting back and waiting for your husband to do it, your wife to do it, your mom to do it, your dad to do it. That's child victim energy, and that's not going to create the life you desire, and that's not going to help you become trigger proof. That is the solution. Let me know what showed up for you. How was this? Any light bulbs? I can only really see, I can't see your face to know if there's any type of connection. Let me know what came up for you in this. Did it upset you? Are you telling me to F off? I'm okay with that. Let me know what came up for you, and we'll see you at the next perfect time. Follow that link if you have any questions. I'm here. I'll do another training tomorrow for any question that you have, and see you at the next perfect time.